still on his feet, inside the 20, 15, 10, he's in, touchdown ran.
Allen tried to toss it for Yarborough, touchdown! Wow, what a catch! Cuts at the 5, ball moves, and Dukeman catches it for a score. Step up, gets hit as he throws, looking to the end zone, and it's caught! Touchdown, Bruins! What a catch by Alexander!
10, 5, touchdown!
25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, A.J. Turner!
And here come the Cougar Nation. Northern Region champs.
The Gameday Broadcast Network is proud to present high school football. This exclusive broadcast is being powered by Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy. Get back in the game of life. Manhattan Pizza, now serving Ashburn, South Riding, and Leesburg with the best dang pizza in the world. Verizon Wireless, the official wireless provider of the Gameday Broadcast Network. Diamond Sports Training, train with DST Performance today. Bellator Sports Memorabilia, the premier sports memorabilia store in Northern Virginia. EndZoneCamera.com, the most efficient and affordable EndZone camera system on the market. The Spine and Joint Health Center, offering patients superior results-oriented care, proudly serving Northern Virginia with the finest spine and joint care. Quarterback University, take your skill to the next level and enhance your future today. By Max Muscle Sports Nutrition. Max Muscle, partners in health. Atlanta Bread Company of Sterling. Come for the food, stay for the culture.
Welcome back to a brand new season of Gameday All-Access here on the Gameday Broadcast Network. I'm Andy Hayes, joined alongside my good friends and partners in crime, Bruce Bornarth and Taylor Jensen. Gentlemen, back for another season. They haven't run us out yet. Bruce, there have been a lot of people campaigning for you to disappear, but that's not happened. You're still here. How's this going on? How are you continuing to come back every year?
Because I never left the chair. I've been in this chair all summer long. I'm wearing it out. And I think looking over here at my partner, Taylor, I need a cushion, please, from now on.
Well,
you're like the little guy looking up.
You were complaining early in this show.
What else is new?
Yeah, what's new? I mean, you got to worry about the prima donna here. But you were a little upset that the Briar Woods helmet wasn't positioned next to your chair a little bit. But you do have the photo behind you. So, I mean, let's quit complaining. Taylor, how are you? Everything good? Have you got him in shape here for the season or what?
I mean, I'm working on it. We got to wait till we get fed before we can really do anything. That's a shout out to the McSerenay sisters over there at Briar Woods.
Oh, listen to you guys campaign. I tell you, it's every week. Hey, you took some grief in the preseason calling out Chantilly. The Purple Platoon not happy with Taylor Jensen this year.
I mean, I switched over to the dark side, Centerville.
Now you're on the bandwagon.
I'm on the bandwagon.
And that's the perfect segue as we look back at our Game Day Rewind from Week 1 here of the 2013 football season. Hey, let's talk Centerville for a second. Top-ranked team coming into the season for us in the Game Day Power Poll. Best we saw all summer. And they took care of business right from the start. They beat West Potomac 51-7 here. Taylor, you and I were there, had a chance to watch this one in person and call the game. And, you know, you walk away from the Centerville game going, wow, Coach Haddock has got to be the happiest guy in the world calling plays. He's got all the options he could ever want.
Yeah, I mean, they've got guys who are almost just interchangeable. You can go straight over to your backups, and you're not really skipping a beat like with these guys. I mean, Centerville wasted no time making their statement. Number one in the power poll for a reason, and I think they proved that reason on Thursday night. Now, granted, a lot of people are saying, well, Pearsonell, he had to take over at quarterback due to injury. Well, yeah, that's true. But you've also got to consider the fact that Centerville just laid the wood to West Potomac early. I think they were up 28-0 after the first quarter. So Centerville really made their statement not just to the region, but I think to the state. They're a serious contender this year.
Yeah, no question about it. Now, Charles Tudd had a big game, 2 touchdowns in this one. Scotty Walter had a big game throwing the ball. A.J. Turner not as much in the front and center of the offense, although he had a nice game. But I'll tell you, Xavier Nickens-Iser, Taylor Boose, the defense with Chad Wiggins, Devontae Wright, look out. This team is going to be, as Taylor said, a contender for a state championship this year if they stay healthy and live up to potential. That's always a big question mark. All right, moving on to the next game here, and we talk about the Tuscarora Huskies, the team that is in Leesburg, 4th year now. Mike Burnett comes from Broad Run 4 years ago, starts Tuscarora. Bruce says, I'm not giving you any credibility until we get past the first couple years. Bruce, they go on the road to start the season. They beat Kettle Run. And is it time for the Huskies to get a little love? That's all I want to know.
Oh, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
What year is this of the Mike Burnett era?
This is year
staff?
4.
Year
This is year 4.
What happened at Broad Run?
They won a state title for the second time in a row.
In similar time frame?
Yes.
What happened in California before the man came here?
He's competing for championships. You're right.
Everybody else look out. This program is right on track. And I think what's impressive with this 31-21 win over Kettle Run. Kettle Run's a playoff team and a deep run playoff team for the past couple years. You look at Tuscarora and where they are now, the way they ended last season, they were very successful, not real happy with the exit that they had at the end of the year. But to be hitting the way they are now, they're good right now. But I'm telling you, with this coaching staff, the way they are, they're going to be better next week and better the next week. They'll be better at the end of the season than they are now, which is the only thing you can ask out of your team as a coaching staff. That's bad news for everybody else on their schedule.
And even with all of the injuries that they sustained in the preseason, we only have one senior playing as a starter on offense. That's the quarterback, Nick Azarita, who played a nice game in this one. Noah Reimers with 175 yards rushing, a couple touchdowns, had a 75-yarder call back. I mean, this is a team that has some ingredients here to be a contender. Let's keep an eye on them. All right, moving to Briar Woods. All right, this is the team that Bruce and Taylor, they live on the blue and orange bandwagon. They've got the photo behind Bruce. I mean, we come in, he's complaining about the helmets not being right behind. I mean, this is their team. They go down to Brook Point, and they put it on Brook Point, 63-13. So all those questions about, how's Briar Woods going to be at 5A? Well, they still have a little work to do, but they're starting to get answered, Taylor. Briar Woods playing with a little chip on their shoulder right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're the team that feels like they're not getting any respect. They won 3 state championships, but people keep saying, yeah, that's 4A. It's a big whoop. You know what? A lot of people have done it. Broad Run did it. They got up to 5A, and they had a little bit of a down year their first year. I don't think that's going to be the case with Briar Woods. I think that they are built to contend in their district, their region, maybe state. We'll see. That's a little bit down the road. But I do think that they made their statement and showed that, hey, 5A, we can compete. They just reloaded. They lost a lot of guys to graduation, but I think that the guys that are stepping in have been in the program long enough to where they've already bought into the philosophy that Coach Pierce has out there. I think Briar Woods is really going to make some noise this year in their first year in 5A.
They have a big test coming here this week in Ashburn. We'll talk about that later on. Bruce Bornarth, you were down at Stonewall Jackson High School this past weekend calling the Stonewall Potomac game. Greg Stroman and the top 5 ranked Stonewall Jackson Raiders took care of Potomac. Sloppy game, but I know you came away impressed with the athletes that Coach Doherty has out on the field.
You look at athletes and you go roster for roster in the area, and Stonewall Jackson Raiders can play with anybody. That's on paper. They win. That's a great thing on this start. This is a team that lost in the first round of the playoffs last year by a missed extra point, or a blocked extra point, actually. That has been eating away at this bunch the whole season. That's all they wanted to talk about the other day. Great. They got the win. They're on track right now. But I'm going to tell you what, if they're going to play with the big boys, and they have the talent to be one of the big boys, they got to clean up the mistakes. There must have been 50 penalties in that game. And I know this may be a bit of an exaggeration, but they were the mental kind of mistakes, not penalties of aggression that you can kind of live with as a coaching staff. They get that cleaned up. They've got as much talent as anybody out there. Just need a little more discipline. One of the things that you asked question in the article in the preseason about them was with the two-way players, the 2 big guys, DeAndre Stubbs and Tim Settle. Can they handle the stamina? It was hot that night. They went both ways. I didn't see any signs of getting tired.
All right, big win for Coach Doherty's club, and it doesn't get any easier this week. They'll travel down to C.D. Hilton. All right, moving out to Purcellville, Woodgrove. Mike Skinner's club starts the season off on a great note. They defeat Freedom 35-0. This was a team that came up to Purcellville, new coach Jared Van Acker. But Woodgrove looks like they're starting to get it in gear as well. Josh Sweet with a couple touchdown runs in this one. They were impressive. The defense played well, and I think this Wolverine club here has, again, a little more momentum now that they've been in the system for a year. Coach Skinner has them understanding the bigger picture, the grind as they call it. They're embracing the grind, They played well. Talked to Coach Skinner on the phone yesterday. He was very pleased with how they went about things, but they've got a tough game coming up against Tuscarora as well. So a big win for them to start the season. And now let's talk about the Handley Judges. They might have had the best story coming back from 42-21 to beat Liberty on Saturday, 45-42. This was an incredible football game. For those of you who are watching college football, you missed one here. Bruce, I know that was you. The fact of the matter is Handley at the Handley Bowl can never be counted out, even if they look like they're down and out. This was the same case here in this game. Again, down by 3 scores, and we're able to come back and win the game. A late field goal. Will Deering, 5 touchdowns accounted for in this one. And if you're Liberty, you're shaking your head. You had this one won. How do they recoup? And what does this do for Handley moving forward?
You just put week 1 behind you, and for Handley, it's just expected, actually. We talk about home field advantage several times throughout the course of the season on this show. You know, places like Stonebridge, where it really does exist. Sharando, it does exist there. You go down to Valley, I think it exists at Harrisonburg. You could make the argument that it's big time really at Lake Braddock. But I think Handley, something magical about Saturday afternoon in the Handley Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. And a great way to start the 2013 season here for Tony Rayburn. All right, let's move you out to Stevens City, not that far away from Winchester here, and the Sharando Warriors with a great start to their campaign. Bill Hall's club jumped on Musselman, took care of business. It was not a close game. They win it 40-13, and Sharando is feeling good about themselves right now. Taylor Jensen, listen, this is a team that has they've competed for the past few years, but they haven't had that marquee team that has gone on to really compete for a title in the state playoffs per se. They feel like this might be the team, the first one they've had since 2007, that can do that.
Oh, absolutely. Coach Hall is really proud of this group of guys that he's got out there at Sharando right now, and I think that he kind of showed why on Friday night. I mean, Musselman is no slouch. Sharando kind of took care of business, and Coach Hall has a group, especially with the skill set that he has in his skill players, that he feels like is once in a few 5 years, 5-10 years type of guys. You're comparing a quarterback to Ross Matheny, who went on to play at University of Virginia. You've got guys that he's comparing to that group. There's something special out there in Sharando.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, their schedule, one of the toughest in 4A. They'll host Martinsburg coming up here on Friday night. And now, let's talk about the game down at Oakton. And Bruce, this was a shocker. T.C. Williams came in as the underrated team. They had not made the playoffs in quite some time. Oakton, the Northern Region champs from a year ago, and the Cougars really had a tough time against T.C. Williams. Now, that's to be expected when you have so many losses to graduation. Kyle Downer, the great quarterback, is gone. They lost a lot of their guys on defense, a lot of them on offense. But T.C. Williams, I think, it was more about T.C. Williams than it was about Oakton. I really feel like the Titans, after watching this film, look out. I mean, T.C. Williams, in my opinion, is a playoff team in 2013. And the way they took care of business in this game, Bruce, the way they were able to score and big play Oakton in this one really kind of opened my eyes. I think people need to get their sights on this T.C. Williams team because I'm telling you, they're going to be there when it's all said and done.
You know, we talk about the Concord District ad nauseum on this show because it's so good, and it really is that good. And every year there's some other teams that pop up outside of there that challenge. And I think it's T.C. Williams. I think Andy's 100% right about this team. The story is 100% about what T.C. Williams did.
It's gonna be an interesting week for Oakton. Now, one thing we know about Jason Riley and his staff, they're among the best in the whole region. So the fact is that week 1 to week 2 improvement, always a big deal for all these teams. Expect Oakton to rebound against their rival Madison coming to town here on Friday. All right, how about the Westfield Bulldogs? Westfield, listen, a lot of question marks as well, but they have some answers. They've got Devon Burns, they've got James Gibson, they've got Tyler Thrasher Walker, and they were able to overcome some nice plays from Hayfield in this game and beat Hayfield in this one. It was 35-13. The big plays came from those guys, and it was Tyler Thrasher Walker with a long touchdown run in the second half, Devon Burns with a 95-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. They were able to overcome, giving up some big plays defensively, and not necessarily having a ton of success throwing the football down the field offensively. The Westfield still looks like Westfield. And so we'll have to see how that all pans out here once the Concord District play starts. But a good start for the Bulldogs. They get the win. Now they travel on the road to South Lake. So an impressive beginning here for Westfield. And finally, our last game to talk about today, Lake Braddock and Robinson, the old battle down in Burke, Virginia. We were there for the Game of the Week coverage, and this was an awesome atmosphere. Once again, Ram fans, Bruin fans, you guys do it right down there. Love coming there. Taylor Jensen, Caleb Henderson showed he's the real deal. He's got weapons like A.J. Alexander. They've got a guy named Vince Sika who caught a couple touchdown passes. You have to see some of those on the plays of the week coming up. But this was an impressive win for Lake Braddock because of their defense as well. And that's the big question mark, I thought, going into the season for them. How good were they on defense? They were able to shut Joe Wilson down for the most part in the first half before he left with an injury.
Yeah, I think if you manage to hold Joel Wilson back from having a big game, you got a stout defense. I think Lake Braddock, honestly, with Caleb Henderson leading the team, I think they're a team that is really going to make some noise in the football scene this year. I think that they're going to be tough to beat, and they showed that they can honestly take on any of the Concord teams. I mean, Robinson's no slouch this year. We talked about it earlier in the year that they may actually be a team that could play spoiler and make a run at maybe the second or third seed in the Concord. So I think Lake Braddock made their statement just like Centerville did, that they're a team to be reckoned with. Caleb Henderson wants to go out this year with a bang, and I think he's well on his way to doing it.
Yeah, no question about it. And the thing is that depending on how they play this week against Stonebridge, I walked away from that game thinking, look, if Centerville is 1, Lake Braddock is 1A. I feel like they might be that good here this year. That'll do it for our first segment here on Game Day All-Access. As always, you can come back and watch the replays of the games here right online at GameDayMagazine.com. Bruce and Taylor and I will be back with the first segment of the year on Inside the Huddle coming next.
Visit the Gameday Broadcast Network on Facebook to receive expanded coverage of high school sports in Northern Virginia. Facebook.com/Gameday Broadcast. And follow Gameday on Twitter. Visit Twitter.com/GBN Mobile and follow your favorite team with Gameday's exclusive television shows online at GameDayMagazine.com. Join the network today and make Gameday your home online.
Man, Walter rolling near side, dumps it in the flat. This is Turner. Turner's got it down to the 25, cuts it up to the 15. Turner's still on his feet, and he's going to score. Touchdown, Centerville.
Welcome back to Game Day All Access. I'm Andy Hayes, joined by Bruce Bornarth, Taylor Jensen here on the wonderful set at Diamond Sports Training, the home of the Game Day Broadcast Network. Hey, listen up. Inside the Huddle has a new quarterback this year. Ben couldn't be here much, so we got Taylor back running the show. You're the tallest quarterback in the region. I don't know if people know that. At 6'10", but you are the tallest guy playing quarterback. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm handing this off to you guys.
Let's see if you can zing it a little bit. Here we go.
All right, here we go. Right off the bat. Centerville, king of the hill. No one is going to challenge them. I want to send this right over to Bruce because I know he's going to have some kind of interesting comment. Buy or sell?
I'm selling it all the way. Centerville, yes, #1 preseason, should be #1 preseason. But you've got talent out there. They talked about Caleb Henderson. Lake Braddock has Caleb Henderson. Nobody else does. They can challenge against Centerville. You look at the Stonewall Jackson Raiders. They've got as much talent as anybody out there. They get the discipline under control. They can challenge. But, I don't know if you can see this, but the helmet behind me, right above my head, is the Westfield Bulldogs. What's Centerville done to Westfield 2 years ago? Westfield hadn't forgotten about that. Westfield's coming after Centerville. They are marked on the calendar, looking forward to that game. Anybody can challenge them. It's the Bulldogs of Westfield.
Yeah, we have a phrase for Bruce around here. It's called negative Nancy. He doesn't really see the positive side in a lot of the stuff. I'm buying all the way. What I saw in person, Centerville is the best football team in this area. Now, they have to play up to par, but I'm going to tell you what. They got a senior quarterback who makes all the plays. He makes all the throws, and he's a great leader. Secondly, they've got too many athletes in this offense. I mean, Coach Haddock has a problem. They have to share the ball. And I'm telling you right now, there's not enough footballs to go around out there. Defensively is the reason they're the best team. Chad Wiggins, I think everybody's going to see this year. He's one of the top linebackers in this area, maybe in the state of Virginia. He showed that against Des Moines Pearsonell. Tyler Love, who's just a junior, I think just as good. And then you got guys that are stepping up like Devontae Wright making plays, Jordan Brooks making plays. This is the overall best football team that I've seen all summer long. They proved that again last Thursday in week 1. I'm buying it. They're the team to beat.
All right, next up, the big uglies. No, Andy, that's not a reference to you. They are more valuable than the skill set guys on the football team. So big uglies, linemen, linebackers, all those big dudes, more valuable than your skill set players. Andy, I'm letting you take it.
Oh, man, this is tough. Well, we're going to find out. Where the rubber meets the road this week is with Stonebridge, right? You got the big offensive line. You got good skill guys. You got the big offensive line, though. Bruce, listen, I think you got to have the big offensive linemen and the big defensive linemen before the skill guys. If you don't have those guys up front, those other guys just running for their life all day. So I'm buying. The big uglies are more important than the skill guys. I think you can still win without some great skill players, but you can't win without good linemen.
Well, I'm going to ruin the whole segment right here because right off the bat, week one, I'm going to agree with him because he's right and because my son was a lineman. I'm offended by the big ugly thing. He's a pretty good-looking kid. Now, but you're right. You know, you can take all these little skill guys and put them back there. If you don't have a line for them and open up a hole, they're not going anywhere. They're not going to run through the wall. You got to open the door. These little guys, the skill, quote-unquote guys, they're not crashing through the door. Somebody's got to open the door for them. That's the big guys.
All right, next up, we've got the new classification system. Has been a little bit of a source of debate across the state of Virginia the last few months, but did it get it right? New classification system got it right. Andy, buy or sell?
I'm buying. I think this is a good thing. The administrators got it right. They're trying to level the playing field and make it to where teams are not seeing teams that have twice as many players on the field. It does impact, safety. It does impact the ability to put out a product where you got one group playing one way, the other group's got guys playing both ways. That's a little bit unfair. But that said, I think the mission was correct, which was to try to fix some of the issues out there. Bruce, you're laughing at me.
Taylor, what did he just say?
I lost him.
I got to rewind this thing. Listen, I agree that it was probably time to revamp things, and we'll get into it all throughout the season. Bottom line, there's still going to be 6 state champions. The thing I don't like about it, I don't have a problem with putting people in half of the state, other half of the state, and seeding them. I don't have an issue with that at all. I think that's fine. The problem I have now, there's one trophy to play for all year. There's no district title anymore. There's no regional title. There might be a conference or a sectional or whatever they call that last round before you get to the state championship to play for. And that's how a lot of teams measure success. You go back and if you don't look at the Concord district, it's a big deal to win the Concord district. It doesn't exist anymore. Maybe game day we'll have to go out and we'll buy a trophy for the winner of the Concord district or something. I'm spending more Andy's money than he knows. But that aspect I don't like. The other thing that I think I heard somebody talking about is, might even have been you, Andy, that
it must
when
be smart then.
It was smart.
Yeah.
When they get down to the Final Four, I think they may find out after a year or two that they're going to need to reseed at that point, or you're going to have the same teams playing each other. Give an example, and I'll be quick. Hampton and Phoebus dropped down a level. I'm sure they are going to be in the same half of the state.
Not Hampton, Lake Taylor and Phoebus, but go ahead.
All right. But can't you see a scenario where they're the number 1 and 2 teams in their half and could still be the number 1 and 2 teams in the whole state at that level and always playing in the semifinals, never in the finals? I think that I kind of like that idea, reseed after you get down to the Final Four. But there's going to be kinks in any system, and we'll see how they shake out.
Well, I love the playoff opportunity. I think it's great to think that in week 1 of the playoffs, you could have to travel to Richmond and go see a team that you haven't seen all year. Because I hate having to go do all the rematches, which we know the outcomes in week 1, right? I mean, now you may not know the outcome. Now you may have a team you're not that familiar with. So I like that part of it. I agree with the district part. Whether you want to call them districts or conferences, it doesn't matter. But you got to have some way to honor the people that go, undefeated or win their district schedule. I agree with. Maybe they can fix that, and I think they will. I think all the teams around, all the administrators and the coaches will come back and say, "Hey, let's make this a big deal again." The sectionals are essentially the state, semifinal. That's what that is. So I understand what you're saying, but I think overall they were just trying to make sure it was a little more level. Now they'll come back and tweak it and probably make it just right.
And last point, and the good thing about it is it shows that they're being progressive at the state level and they're thinking about changes, which tells me that when it needs fixing, they'll fix it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think another thing people are really going to like is the potential for upsets. But maybe that's just me. You're going to have a lot more Cinderellas, I feel like now.
I love the fact that Bruce Bornarth can't figure out who's on any level. So his picks of the week are going to stink because he's got no idea.
Somebody out there make me a cheat sheet. Take every school, put them, tell me what level they're in.
Yeah, but that would require that you have to go to the internet, which you don't know how to do. So
we're going to get to that in a couple questions.
That's right.
All right, next up, we got the biggest statement win. And there's a lot of statement wins over that Friday night and even Thursday if you count Centerville. But they're saying the biggest one may actually be T.C. Williams over Oakton. Bruce, you buying or selling?
I'm selling it. It remains to be seen what happens with Oakton. Andy talked about it when we did that game, that the graduation toll that the Cougars felt. I look at Lake Braddock and I look at Centerville. You want to talk about a statement game.
Yeah, and I'm going to sell it too. I think it was a great win for T.C. Williams. Don't get me wrong. Now, if they win this week against Centerville, that's the biggest statement going on. But I think the key is that T.C. Williams was taking on a team that's just trying to figure out who's the next man up. And I think, like you said, the jury's out. Oakton will be fine. They'll come along. Here's the thing that stood out to me. I thought Hanley's win was a statement win because Hanley's not necessarily been irrelevant the last couple of years, but they haven't been the Hanley that we've known to be the front runner in the Northwestern District area, right? Now, obviously, Bruce just said that's out of the whack there. But bottom line is this is a team that with a come-from-behind win like that, all of a sudden, now you got to start looking at their schedule going, there are going to be some good games coming up. Sharandale, Hanley, mid-October, look out. Mm-hmm. The Judges might be for real. That was a statement win from my standpoint here. All right,
next up, we've got that this is the year that it comes back to Nova. That Nova just runs the state, especially 5 and 6A. We saw Stonebridge get there for what is now 5A last year. Didn't quite get it done. But is this the year that Northern Virginia kind of runs the tables with a lot of the different classifications?
Well, I don't know about run the table, but I'm going to buy that this is the year Northern Virginia has a champion coming home. In the 5A, 6A levels, they got a better shot, okay, than they've had in the last few years. 4A, let's call Phoebus and Lake Taylor good luck. I don't care who gets there from up here. You know, that's going to be a challenge. But let's look at 5A for a second. I like our chances with Stonebridge and Briar Woods. I mean, those are two teams that, you know, are always there. So you got to feel good about that. And who's standing in their way? You know, LC Bird's a good team, don't get me wrong, but tradition like Stonebridge and Briar Woods, no, they don't have that. You look down on the beach and you got Hampton, who's got great tradition, but they haven't really been the king of that area in the 757 for a while. I like the chances in 5. Now 6A, I think we have some teams up here that have 757 speed that we haven't had the past couple of years. Most likely Centerville, and I think Lake Braddock could even get in the middle of that and play ball. So there's a chance that, yeah, I think we could bring back in 5A, 6A and start bringing it back to Northern Virginia again this year.
You know, not a whole lot to add to that. I agree wholeheartedly with the 6A. I'm used to 6A and Division 6 and all. 6A. But the 5A level, the only comment I will make is that I think it shows the example of how sports are cyclical over time. It used to be that, you know, could Northern Virginia, whoever wins in Northern Virginia, has to go against the best of the beach. And the beach had more quality 5A teams, and the tournament to watch were the playoffs to see who was going to come out of the beach. I think that's shift now to Northern Virginia with the teams that you talked about. Who's going to come out of Northern Virginia to go play the beach team? I think it's just come full circle.
All right, and back to Bruce with the internet.
I'm leaving.
Lord knows that those are two things that don't go together. But for all we know, Bruce is taking a class for typing or something over at Nova. But Bruce Bornarth knows how to tweet. I'm not even going to you first, Andy.
Buy or sell?
Buy or sell.
Sell all the way if I've ever seen one. First of all, Bruce doesn't even know what tweeting is. He does have Twitter because I set it up for him on his phone. So all of you out there that holler at Bruce and he acts like he doesn't know what you're saying, he knows what you're saying. He's reading it. Bruce, when are you going to put out your first official tweet? And who's it going to? That's what I want.
Listen, the tweet, no, I have the tweet. I read the tweets. I understand. I think they're cool because they give all this update stuff. Now, do I know how to tweet back? No, I don't think it's that difficult. I do know how to text, though.
I think the last time he heard about tweeting, he thought it was like karaoke night for Rockin' Robin or something.
There's a lot of debate about what you know how to do with your phone. I can tell you that much. Number one, answer it, which doesn't happen very often. All right, final part of Inside the Huddle every week is the spirit battle. And this week, we head to Ashburn, where the Lake Braddock Bruins will bring the Bruin Nation up from down in Burke, and they'll take on the Dog Pound out at Stonebridge. Now here we go, Bruce. Let's just get it going. Let's raise the temperature a little bit. Now you have a group in Fairfax that is used to playing in big games too. And the Bruin Nation, they're not shy about showing up for ball games now. They're there every week. Playing a good team or not, they're there every week. And they will be here on Friday night for this one. I promise you. They've got these big posters, with the players blown up on them, just like they used to do with you out at Chantilly a couple years ago. The bottom line is the Bruin Nation, they have a track record. Now they're gonna have to see what Stonebridge brings to the table this week. The Dog Pound, which I think is kind of resurging a little bit here over the past couple years. We're starting to see the Dog Pound carry a little weight out there with the fan section there. Bruce, call it like it's going to be this week. Who's winning this?
It's Stonebridge at home, right?
Stonebridge is at home.
See, now I hammered, and I believe rightfully so, and I'll still stand by it, Stonebridge not traveling even as close as Reston. I called that Stonebridge Reston game last year, and there could have been 5 people on the other side. It's a whole different story for Stonebridge at home. Nobody crowd-wise challenges Stonebridge at home. On the road, you can take them down, but not at home. So Bulldogs at home.
You're taking the Dog Pound.
I'm taking the Dog Pound.
Interesting.
I think
How about you?
Lake Braddock doesn't have a prayer. I mean, the last time I was at a big game at Stonebridge was the first Battle of Ashburn, and it was broad runs, Stonebridge. Stonebridge comes from behind, rushes the field. You don't see that at a lot of schools around here anymore. You just don't. I mean, I've even seen some of the Westfield Chantilly games not be as crazy as that game.
So you're saying that Lake Braddock doesn't have a chance in the Spirit Battle?
Not at all. No way. I mean, they've got the team. They've got Caleb Henderson, all those guys. Go y'all. But the student section, no.
I'm going to make a prediction. The visiting stands for this one, completely full. Lake Braddock, number one, great tradition of great athletics down there. And they have a great football team. And they support their football team. I'm going to tell you right now, the Bruin Nation will show up big in this one. You heard what I said. You ready? I think it's on the Dog Pound to prove that they're legitimately a top-tier student section. The Dog Pound. It's on them. It's not on the Bruin Nation. I've seen that. We've seen it down at Lake Braddock. Yes. They're for real. The Dog Pound is coming on. I'm going to say the jury's out on whether or not they are ready to take on the Bruin Nation on Friday night. There's your Spirit Battle right there.
Call me the fence sitter.
There you go. I'm sitting on the fence, but I think it sways. Stonebridge has to prove something here. The Dog Pound is on the what do we call it? Under the microscope here coming up on Friday night. That'll do it for Inside the Huddle. We'll be back with our picks of the week right after we show you the top 10 plays from last week on the Gameday Broadcast Network.
The top 10 plays of the week on the Gameday Broadcast Network are proudly presented by Verizon Wireless, the official wireless provider of the Gameday Broadcast Network.
First and 10 here for Roulette, and he'll chuck it to his tight end. This one's picked off, one-handed grab. Interception. Bruins have got it inside the 17-yard line, and that's Jonathan McVicker with a highlight catch.
First and 10 inside the 35-yard line, opening drive for the Raiders. This pass is picked and gonna go 6. Harris Heslip, the only player in your picture, read the screen, picked it at the 45-yard line, and there was nothing but grass between him and the goal line.
That is something. It's going to be another low squibber this time. Bobbled in the back. That is David Eldridge. Near sideline, out across the 30, makes a move, 40, midfield, still on his feet. David Eldridge, he's gone. See you later. Touchdown.
Wow, that was a beautiful return.
Second down and 8. Azarita, shotgun, handoff, Reimers, left side, through the first line, into the secondary. Reimers in midfield. Reimers cuts back to the near side, still fighting off the safety. Makes him miss at the 20. Stiff arm at the 15. Works his way to the 10. Touchdown!
Oh my, this kid is something else.
Thrasher Walker, and let's see if Burns is back in the game. Burns bobbles it, picks it up at the 5. He's looking, he's trying to find a gap, and he finds a lane. Devin Burns, he's off to the races. Devin Burns, he's at the 40, he's only got one man to beat. Devin Burns is going to take it to the house, the 10. Touchdown, Westfield Bulldogs. Devin Burns with the kick return.
Devin Burns, 75, 80, 90 yards, great run.
Counter action to Reimers. He's got the corner. He's got a block. Reimers down the near sideline. Makes a man miss at the 20. Cuts inside at the 10. Noah Reimers does.
My goodness.
Touchdown.
Wellman tries to give it. The ball is knocked away, and it's going to be a scoop and score opportunity. Wildcats inside the 10, the 5, and that's going to be a touchdown. Jordan Brooks.
This time, that's enough under center. Quick pass, it's going to be a double pass. They got a man open. It's complete. This is going to go for a touchdown. Hayfield Hawks on the scoreboard.
Sweet, the incredible comeback today.
It's a 28-yard attempt. Deering, snap, down, kick, up. It's long. It's good!
Wow.
The judges have come all the way back and are on top 45-42 with 6 seconds to go.
Henderson under pressure, rolling to his right, throws it up, and it's going to be, caught! Touchdown, Lake Braddock. Sika brought it down off the deflection. Hello, top plays. Let me introduce you to that one.
Well, pressure was brought. The blitz, the backside, looked like Holzhauer was chasing Henderson to the sideline. You see it right here at the 40. He just flings it off balance. Good position by the defender, but it deflects off his hands. Right into Sika. Bobbles it once, pulls it in.
Thank you for watching the Verizon Wireless Top 10 Plays of the Week on the Gameday Broadcast Network. For more coverage of Northern Virginia high school football, visit us online at GameDayMagazine.com and join the network today.
For us, we have my oldest son. We have 3 boys who've come through here. My oldest is 13, so we've been started coming to the camps probably about 7 years ago. It's really good for him. This is his home away from home during the summer, and been real good for his confidence building. The counselors are great. He interacts with them really well, and so when we've got each successive kid to get old enough to come here, and they've been really nice to let us come even a little early and do the full day camps for the younger guys. Same thing, it's a real good confidence builder. They build up relationships with the coaches, and so that's how it all started. And then we've brought them here for individual instruction, top notch, and brought teams in here as well. So this is the best facility in the area, hands down, for our money.
Come by and visit Diamond Sports Training today, where baseball season never ends.
When ice and rest aren't enough, it's time for you to call Robin O'Connor at Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy. Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy provides Loudon and Fairfax with the finest physical therapy around. Hundreds of high school athletes have trusted Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy to help them get back on the field. Don't let that injury go untreated. Call Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy today at 703-724-7474 or visit us online at integratedsportspt.com. It's where athletes go to get back in the game.
Back here on Gameday All-Access as we get set to take a look ahead now at the big games coming up on Friday of this week here on the Gameday Broadcast Network. And we've got great ball games going on all across the region. So those that are featured in our picks of the week, aren't all on our broadcast schedule, but they're great games and nonetheless tough for Bruce to pick, so he falls behind early in the season, which is always an important strategy move on my part when I select these. Let's go ahead and kickstart this thing, and we're going to head out to Ashburn. It's a big game here. Colonial Forge and Briar Woods. Now, Coach Bill Brown's been around a long time, much longer than Charlie Pierce. Now, this is a veteran coach, and this is a veteran coach team that's coming up to Ashburn. Different story than last week with Brook Point. So Briar Woods at 1-0, Colonial Forge at 1-0. Can set the lock horns here on Friday night. Bruce, who do you liking this one?
Do you really need to ask that one?
Well, I know the answer, but at least provide some analysis for people that want something out of the show. Go ahead.
Trace McSorley. Kid's lost 3 games in his career. 3-time state champion ever since he's been a freshman. Top of the hill until you knock him off. You're number 1 until somebody takes it away from you.
I'm going to have to agree with Bruce on this one, not because I'm biased, but I really do believe Briar Woods is going to be top dog in 5A next to Stonebridge, and I think they'll end up meeting. But I'm taking Briar Woods. You've also got all the Orange Crush, the student section.
Oh, don't even start on them.
They
never
come on.
showed up last year.
But they got the chip on their shoulder just like the rest of the Briar Woods student section does.
You had me until you went there. You had me until you went there. I don't even know if that exists anymore. Does the Orange Crush even exist?
No.
It doesn't exist.
No.
They've taken for granted that they're going to win every game.
The one kid graduated.
It's gone. Yeah, exactly. All right. I'm going to take, in this game, I'm taking Briar Woods at home. I believe with what Bruce and Taylor have said is right. You pick the winner, pick the champ until they get knocked down. But don't be surprised. I'm telling you right now, don't be surprised if Colonial Forge gives them all they want and maybe even comes away with a big win. All right, T.C. Williams at Centerville. All of a sudden, this game looks a lot better than what it was going to a couple weeks ago. Big win over Oakton, 38-2. And they've got speed. If Centerville has speed, T.C. Williams has just as much. Coach Haddock said on his weekly show with us, he was worried about this game. I'll let you start it, Taylor. Who wins this one?
Yeah, I'm taking Centerville. But, man, you can't help but notice how T.C. Williams has improved. I think that they're gonna have a few tricks up their sleeve. You got to like how they came out and performed against Oakton. Centerville's just got too many weapons, and they've got the depth this year.
T.C. Williams was very impressive last week, but you have to wonder about a hangover. T.C. Williams, we've talked about this all show. Up and coming, arriving. Centerville, already there.
Yeah, I'm taking the Wildcats, too. They're my number 1 team in this area until somebody shows me differently. This is the team to beat. All right, Martinsburg heading out to Stevens City. This is a big game out in this marketplace now. I'm just telling you. The town shuts down in both places, and they will be at Arrowhead Stadium on Friday night. Sharando feels like they've got their best shot in years to beat Martinsburg. Martinsburg's saying, we don't lose. We've won 3 state titles in a row. Sharando, you got no chance. Bruce, you mind it?
No. Martinsburg, king of the hill from West Virginia. Sharando is coming back. But again, it's that coming back. It's that ing thing at the end of the word. They're up and coming. It's too early in the season. If this game were later in the season, I might be thinking the other way, but I got to go Martinsburg.
You know, I'm taking Sharando. I think they're going to shock some people. Coach Hall has got a vendetta against that team. He wants it bad. And I think they've got the guys in the backfield to be able to do it. I'm taking Sharando in a big, big upset.
Taylor is really hunting for friends right now is what's happening. Because everywhere else he's getting the stiff arm out there, the Heisman pose. But Taylor's winning some friends over in Stevens City. Well, you know, a lot of people call me Andy Sharando Hayes out in Stevens City, Virginia, because obviously I've been close to the program for a long time. But here's the problem. Bruce said it right. Martinsburg is a 3-time state champion. When you're that good, you know, it falls on the other team to prove that they can win that game. So I got to stick with Martinsburg primarily because I feel like they're the favorite going in. Sharando has a better chance to win, but they're going to have to prove that they can beat the top dog in the area. All right, moving on here. Stonewall at C.D. Hilton. This is a great game right here. 1-0 versus 1-0. But more importantly, 2 teams that almost are like a flat, you know, mirror image of each other. I mean, they could look across and go, oh, I got a great quarterback like Greg Stroman. And a great quarterback like Trayvon McMillian. Oh, by the way, I got all these great fast athletes out there on the edge. And, oh, guess what? Yeah, I got a great defense too. You know what? The exact same teams really playing each other. So what gives here? Who are you taking?
I would have a much easier time picking this game had I not seen that Stonewall-Jackson game from last weekend. They were talking about Hilton. They're looking ahead to Hilton. But I'm going to tell you something. They can beat Hilton, and I'm going to pick Stonewall Jackson for right now because of the talent and the D1 players they have on the field, and mainly because of Stubbs and Settle, the two big guys. But I'm going to tell you what, if they don't clean up those mistakes and they don't take care of business penalty-wise and discipline-wise on the field, they're in big trouble because C.D. Hilton, they're all business. But I'm taking Stonewall for now.
I'm going to reinforce what Bruce said. I'm taking Stonewall, but they've got to cut down on those penalties because if they don't, Trayvon McMillan can play some football. And
I can't believe you guys aren't going with Hilton. I mean, they're the home team. They're the home team in this one. They beat Stonewall a year ago. I mean, the fact of the matter is this is the team to beat here. C.D. Hilton's my pick. I mean, until Stonewall shows me that they can, one, clean up the penalties like Bruce said, but go into a hostile environment like Hilton and win that game, I'm not buying it. I'm taking the Bulldogs here in the game at home. All right, Madison at Oakton. The Outback Bowl returns. This time it's the second game of the year for Oakton. Probably a good thing because they didn't play well in the first one. Madison, this is their first game. So a little bit of an advantage for the Cougars maybe going in, Bruce. They get a chance to work on some things and make some improvements. What do you think?
I think so, and I think if they were playing just about anybody but crosstown rival Madison this week, I would like Oakton a whole lot better. I still like Oakton, but I think I'm going to take Madison this year.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Madison. I think they've got that beginning of the season hype. They're going to come out ready to just lock horns with Oakton. I think Oakton has still got some questions that they got to answer. I think that they still got to find guys that they can go to and rely on. They'll get there, but I don't think it'll be this early in the season taking Madison.
Wow, both Bruce and Taylor have jumped off the Cougar bandwagon already. I'm not jumping off. Just want to let y'all know this, Oakton fans. I'm picking you this week. You know why? Because you don't lose the Outback Bowl. You just don't. I think they've only lost twice in the last 15 years. I mean, it's been that dominant for Oakton. Coach rallying the group, they'll rally them this week coming up here. They will rally the Cougars this week. This will be a different team. I'm going to tell you another thing. Great ceremony happening here at the pregame. They're going to retire Packy Purcell's jersey. And we all know the sad story about Coach Purcell, who passed away in the offseason. It was a terrible thing. It's been a devastating thing for Oakton. But you take this inspirational event that's going to happen before this game, and there will be a lot of tears down there in Oakton, in Vienna this weekend for sure. This will be an inspirational thing for Oakton. It'll be something that elevates their play, and those kids will play harder than they've ever played for Jason Rowley this week. Take the Cougars, and number 26 up above is going to be helping them out here. All right, Lee at Chantilly. You ready? Chantilly. Bruce is already excited to make this pick here. Mike Lowley's club, first game out of the 2013 gates here, but for Lee, they just had a big win over Edison, 75-61. Bruce, that's not a basketball score. 75-61. They scored 75 points and gave up 61. What will happen against Chantilly?
You just stole my whole thunder. Hey, Lee, they hang 75 on Edison. Yay! What do? They give up 61. Now, with all due respect to Edison, I have a lot of good friends and fraternity brothers that went to Edison. But with all due respect, if Edison can hang 61 on Lee, then Chantilly can hang 161 on him.
We'll find out about that.
I'm backing Bruce up again, 150%. I think Chantilly is going to just blow the doors off of Lee.
You can't pick Chantilly. Nobody likes you from Chantilly. You jumped off the purple bandwagon 2 weeks ago.
I want them to like me again, though. I got to build this back up.
It's all about Facebook friends and Twitter friends for Taylor. So you're picking Chantilly.
Absolutely.
I'm taking Chantilly, too. No doubt. Hey, the defense will be the reason. R.J. Windows has the best defense he's had there for a while. But we'll find out how they play on offense here. Lee is going to put some points on the board at some point. Chantilly better score. All right, Woodgrove at Tuscarora. This might be the best game of the week. I'm serious.
Will you quit stealing my thunder?
I'm telling you, this 35-31 a year ago. And here they are playing again. You got Josh Sweet, Noah Reimers. I mean, much like the Stonewall Hilton deal, mirror images of each other, except for one big differential. The offensive line for Woodgrove is way bigger than the offensive line for Tuscarora. So what gives here?
Tuscarora makes up for it with speed, but you're right. I look at the schedule this week, and I see co-games of the week, both of them in Loudoun County, not more than 5 miles apart. The other one is the Stonebridge Lake Braddock game we'll get to later. Those two games, I think, are the co-games of the week. This game, wow. Give me a coin and let me flip it 800 times. I'm going to take Tuscarora because they're at home. Woodgrove Woodgrove is big. They're strong. They're physical. Tuscarora may be a little bit faster. I'm going to go a little faster than big.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go Tuscarora. I want to pick Woodgrove, but I don't think that the speed is going to be something that Woodgrove can contain. I think that Tuscarora is just going to get up and down the field too quick. I think that the running game for Tuscarora is too strong. I'm taking Tuscarora.
Let me just take this moment here to go back just a second and rewind this. Didn't he just say he'd rather have the big guys than the fast guys?
He did.
In inside the huddle? And then you just picked the fast guys to beat the big guys? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay. So
but
basically,
see, now you're twisting.
I never made an opinion on it, so I'm neutral here.
Playing both sides of the fence.
You're twisting it around.
Killing me, Bruce. I mean, look, people are watching the show. They know what you said. They're following along too, and they're all confused as well. I'm confused here. Which one is it? The big guys or the skill guys?
Apples and oranges. It's not the same thing.
Which one is it? The big guys or the skill guys?
It's not the same thing.
Look, the pick is Tuscarora at home. That's the pick by 4 points. That's what it was last year, and that's what it's going to be this year. But not because Bruce picked. I don't get his whole
After all that
theory.
He agrees with you.
I agree, but
I said.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't make sense, does it? All right, here we go. Next game. W.T. Woodson at Robinson. Joe Wilson knocked out of the game last week with an ankle injury, it looked like. You know, he's such a big part of that offense, Bruce, that if he's not 100%, I don't know. Woodson lost a heartbreaker to Fairfax. I mean, they were right there, and they're improved this year. Is this a chance, maybe, for Coach Dishion's club to go down into Robinson, catch them at a time where Joe Wilson's not 100%?
No,
what do you think?
No. Let me ask you this: in all seriousness, you know, Woodson lost to Fairfax 14-7 last week. Is Fairfax Robinson? No, they're not. Is the second guy at Robinson probably on par with the first guy at Fairfax? Probably so. I think Robinson's fine.
Fairfax has Nick Scott.
I love Fairfax.
I know, but I mean, he's going to Penn State. Now, he's legit.
I understand
So
that.
he and Joe Wilson are similar.
I understand
And they
that.
held them in check to only 14 points. So, but you're taking Robinson.
Taking Robinson.
So you're not going on the roller coaster.
I am. What happened to Robinson?
We're going
this
back
week?
up. You're going back up.
Y'all are going to see a nail biter with this game. I'm taking Robinson, but I think it's going to be close. I think W.T. Woodson is really improved. I think that they're really kind of doing a facelift with that program. They're changing the culture down there. But Robinson is a tough task to take on so early in the season. Got to take the Rams.
Well, Coach Meyer learned some things about his club in this game, and partly because Joe Wilson went out. He found that he's got some wide receivers that can catch. Jack Roulette is the quarterback who can throw. The offensive line did a pretty good job protecting him, and the defense was pretty decent. Avon Johnson's a stud. You got to take Robinson in this game at home. They'll rebound. It will be a closer game, though. I agree with you 100%. All right, moving forward here. Heritage at Potomac Falls. Reed Prosser takes over to Heritage, goes on the road and beats James Wood. He's done that several times at Millbrook back in the day, but he did it this past week for Heritage, first time, and he's 1-0. Jason Allen takes over Potomac Falls, and they go on the road and beat Dominion 24-19. Both programs right now are on cloud 9. They're saying, hey, we got this new coach in there. He's changed everything. Everything is moving forward. We're going to win. What happens here, Bruce? What happens? Because somebody's got to lose this game.
The Loudon Homer can get away with saying this, with all due respect to both of these teams. A couple years ago, not so long in the past, this game would have been laughed right off of the picks of the week.
Right.
Now, I think it's the toughest pick on the board. I think I'm going to go with Potomac Falls because they're at home. Potomac Falls, I haven't seen them yet, but I keep hearing about what's going on over there, and finally, things are developing over there, a program at Potomac Falls. Not just a year-in, season-out deal. So I like what I'm hearing about the Panthers. I'm going to take them.
Just like he said earlier, he took the base. There's a lot of ings at the end of that.
Lot of
Potomac
ings.
Falls is developing.
Right.
They're hearing. I like the brand of football Reed Prosser's got. The man knows how to coach. They're fundamentally sound. They don't make mistakes, Andy. I'm taking Heritage. I think Heritage is really going to surprise a lot of people this year. Coach Prosser knows how to coach football, and I think they're going to take the win against Pot Falls.
I'm with you. I'm taking Heritage because I think you go up to James Wood, and that's a tough place to play, and you get James Wood on their home turf, and Heritage has a little bit more, I think, speed on the edge out there. They've got some really good players on their team. Potomac Falls has a couple guys. Wanya Allen had a great game last week, and their quarterback played extremely well. But I think we're going to see Heritage come out and really impress this week. And I like Reed Prosser's club as well. I think they go to 2-0 with a win over Potomac Falls. But it'll be a great game. I agree with you. This could be the second or third best game in the whole schedule. All right, now we're at the final game. The game of the week this week is Lake Braddock and Stonebridge. Here you have the number 2 ranked Bulldogs yet to play a game. You have the number 3 ranked Lake Braddock Bruins 1-0 after putting away Robinson. This is a game, this is a tough pick right here. I mean, what you're really saying is the quarterback for Lake Braddock is the guy that can get it done for the Bruins, or the big offensive line for Stonebridge is going to wear that defense for Lake Braddock down. What gives? What are you picking here?
Yeah, Stonebridge, home opener. It's almost not fair to the rest of the world when Stonebridge opens the season at home. The excitement, the enthusiasm about that. The coaching staff, I think, is more excited about this team than they have been in years. What? They just lost 2 Division I scholarship players, right? 2 blue chippers, potential NFL players. This team is prepared and ready to go. You don't beat Stonebridge, I don't think anyway, week 1 at home.
I'm telling you, if Centerville was not the top team in our game day power poll, Stonebridge would be. Stonebridge can play some football. Mickey Thompson was singing their praises at Media Day, talking about how this is one of the best teams he's had in a long time. When you hear that coming out of Mickey Thompson's mouth, a lot of teams are going to get a little worried. So I think Stonebridge takes this one. Caleb Henderson's going to have a game. Don't get me wrong. He's going to have a game. But Stonebridge, they're going to win the game. And I think that they're really going to flex their muscles against Lake Braddock.
It's a tough pick now. I'm just going to tell you right now, they don't have an answer for Caleb Henderson, A.J. Alexander, Vince Seek out on the edge. They just don't. I mean, their defense is really going to struggle with these guys because I watched them take apart Robinson, who has a good defense. And I really believe that Caleb Henderson is a premier guy. Obviously, all the recruiting people believe that too. That's Captain Obvious statement. But he's a guy that can take a game over. And I don't know who's going to match up with Alexander. I mean, Alexander is 6'3", 220 pounds, and they don't have a guy like that in the secondary at Stonebridge. That's a concern if I'm Mickey Thompson, okay, and Derek Barlow. I'm worried about that matchup big time. So what's that mean for Stonebridge? Well, you can't let them have the ball. And so what they have to do is they have to control the line of scrimmage. They will win the line of scrimmage on offense. Definitely win the line of scrimmage on offense. Second thing that will happen is I think Joe Thompson is going to have to make some throws in this game to win this game. Can he do it? Yes, he can. And he will do it in this ball game. And I agree with you guys. I think Stonebridge is a team that you have to pick in this one because Lake Braddock's coming on the road. If this was at Lake Braddock, I think I'd go with the Bruins. But because it's in Ashburn and the way Stonebridge plays at home out of the gate, I'm taking Stonebridge. But this is a really, really even pick. You guys are going to be impressed with Lake Braddock when it's all said and done after watching this one. So I'll take the Bulldogs. Close game. I'm excited to call this one. I hope you all will tune in here to all the games that we have on our network. You guys can certainly log on and check out all the great coverage both live and on demand. We invite you to do that here in week 2 of the 2013 football season. Folks, before we let you go, we're going to send you to a new segment here on Gameday All-Access called Football 101. And the guy today who's teaching you some football is the 3-time state champion coach from Briar Woods, Charlie Pierce, talking about gap responsibility. You're going to learn something right here. Let's send it out to Ashburn with Coach Pierce in Football 101.
This exclusive presentation of Football 101 is brought to you by EndZoneCamera.com, the most efficient and affordable endzone camera system on the market.
My name is Charlie Pierce. I'm the head football coach at Briar Woods High School, and this is Football 101. Today's lesson is about techniques and gap assignments. Defense is my main forte here at Briar Woods, and so we are gap sound defense. And so I just want to explain to the novice individual about techniques that defense can play, plus the gaps they're responsible for in these techniques. Okay, so the first thing is talk about the gaps. The gap assignments in offense. Here's your center, here's your 2 guards, there's your 2 tackles, that's a tight end. And so there are gaps that offense want to run, and here's what the gap names are. These 2 inside gaps on either side of the center are A gaps. So these 2 are called A gaps. Either side of the guard are called B gaps. Regardless of what side the ball is running, it's still called that. Sometimes we refer to a minus A gap. A gap, if you say A gap, that means it's going to play side. Minus means it's away from play side. So some guys are responsible for minus A gap depending on what technique they're in. Then you have C gap. And then if you get outside, you have D gap. And then since this is an open set here, there'll be like a split in over here. This will be D gap here. Versus this is a tight end, so there's your D gap. So based on that, we set our defense, or most teams set their defense, with certain techniques to take care of those gaps. We are gap sound defense. If everybody takes care of their gaps, the running back, quarterback, whoever will have a hard time finding their lane to run. So it's important that they take care of their gaps. So let's talk about the techniques now. We'll start with the center first. If you notice, I got some red lines. These red lines represent the techniques when defensive linemen are head up on those guys. So a guy that's head up on the center, say traditionally you have a nose tackle, this is called a zero technique. When they're head up on the guards, they are called 2 techniques. When they're head up on the tackles, they're called 4 techniques. And when you head up on tight end, traditionally it depends on a coach who you talk to. It's an even number. Sometimes it's known as a 6 technique. Sometimes it's an 8 technique, depending on who you talk to. We generally use 8 technique for here. All right, so those are head-up positions that defensive linemen could play. So you could have a nose and a 0. You could have 2 defensive ends and a 4. You could have outside linebacker and an 8 technique maybe. All right, so now you sometimes want to move your defense, either a shade or a slide or something of that nature. So if that happens, then you have these other techniques. And so these are the pre-snap alignments. So the first one I'm going to show you here is on the center. Sometimes you can shade your nose guard. So anytime you see these shade, a nose guard that's shaded one way or the other, we call these shade. These are shade techniques. So head up is going to be 0, and either side of the center is going to be a shade. Sometimes in goal line defenses, you might hear a gap technique. So a gap is going to be right in the gap. So you might have a 2 down lineman down a goal line, say 1 yard to go. They get in a gap technique. They're down on all fours, penetrating to stop. So these are some techniques also around the center. The next techniques are on the guard. So the first technique I want to point out to you is this inside technique. This inside technique right here is called a 1 technique. Outside shade of a guard is called a 3 technique. So here's a 1 to 3. Over here is the same thing. This is a 1. This is a 3 technique. So a 1 to 3 could be either side. With that in mind, the linebackers that are inside, they are going to be shaded also based on what these techniques are. So say you have a defensive lineman that's in a 1 technique and defensive lineman that's in a 3 technique. If you have that, that means your linebackers will be off and they'll be shaded away, but you don't call those single-digit techniques. You add a 0. So in this case right here, if there's a defensive lineman that's in a 1 technique, this linebacker is going to be in what's called a 30 technique. This defensive lineman could be in a 3 technique. That means this linebacker is going to be off the ball in a 10 technique. So you have a 1 to 3 and a 30 to 10 with the linebackers and the defensive linemen. Let's move out further. If you move out further to the offensive tackle, offensive tackle head up is a 4 technique. Some teams play their defensive end or defensive tackle, depending on what kind of defense you have, in what's called an eye. Sometimes it's referred to a 4-eye technique. So this is a 4-eye. The outside shade is known as a 5 technique. Traditionally, odd front defenses, they were traditionally with the 5 technique. That's what most defenses used to play in the past. A lot of teams play with a 4 technique, a 4-eye technique with their defensive end or defensive tackle. Same thing over here. This technique right here is going to be known as a 4-eye technique or just eye. Sometimes some coaches call it an eye for inside. That's what the eye stands for. And then outside, obviously, I just mentioned the second, that's a 5 technique. The last technique area is the tight end area with your outside linebacker or defensive end, depending on your defense. If you have an over front or something like that, you're going to sometimes put your defensive end or outside linebacker in what's known as a 7 technique, and then outside the tight end, that's known as a 9 technique. So these are the techniques that you employ from the defensive standpoint, and depending on what technique you're in, that will tell you what gap assignment that you're responsible for. So if I am in a 1 technique, I have a gap responsibility. If I am in a 30 technique, which is a linebacker, that means this guy's in one technique. That means I'm B gap responsible. If I am in a 4-eye technique, I am B gap responsible over here. If I am in a 9 technique, I am D gap responsible. So depending on your technique will take care of what gap you're responsible for. If you have all your front guys taking care of their gaps with their proper techniques, then the running back will have a hard time finding the hole to run. Again, this is Charlie Pierce at Briar Woods High School. This is Football 101, Techniques and Gap Assignments.
This exclusive presentation of Football 101 is brought to you by EndZoneCamera.com, the most efficient and affordable end zone camera system on the market.
Well, we hope you liked that first segment of Football 101 here, this show of Gameday All-Access. We have that every week here moving forward. It's a great segment, and Coach Pierce, one of the great teachers out there. That's one thing you know about all these coaches. They're also teachers, so you get a chance to learn from these guys. It's really a neat thing. All right, final minutes here. We'll call it our 2-minute warning here on Gameday All-Access. Bruce, you got a chance to take the stage here and sound off for a minute. And I hope this doesn't get us in trouble, but go ahead.
I don't get the whole 2 minutes.
No,
though, right?
You don't get all 2 minutes. You get about 30 seconds.
Okay. Listen, if you're old school, old world, Loudoun County, tonight you're going to know a lot of these names. Friday night, Parkview inducts, I think, the 4th class into their Athletic Hall of Fame. Begins at 6 o'clock, reception in the school, and then honored again at halftime. If you've been around, I know you'll know some of these names like Renee Leddington. You know Billy King? Renee Leddington, she was All-American. She only scored 30 points less than Billy in her whole career. So if you're old-time Loudoun County, get out to Parkview and check out the Hall of Fame inductees. Say hi to some old friends.
All right, if you're out in Ashburn, go out there for the tailgate. They always tailgate before the games out there at Briar Woods. I know that because I still got some siblings out there. So if you're ever out there want to catch some good football, Briar Woods is a place to do it. Stonebridge as well. You're gonna have a lot of treats out there. If you find yourself sitting around on a Friday night, get a little bored, you can either check it out online or go ahead and check out some of the games.
Go to the game. Come back and watch it with us on demand, but go to the game. And that leads me to my final thought here today. Hey, bottom line is we love hearing from you out there in the Game Day Nation. Now, this week we didn't have the Game Day mailbag set up for you because, quite frankly, we were just trying to get this one pulled off. Bruce finally showed up, so we're good. So we'll send it back out to you now for next week's show. Send us your questions and comments here to Bruce Bornarth, Taylor Jensen, and myself. You can email us at GamedayMagazine@AOL.com or simply tweet us at GBNMobile. Bruce, I'll explain that a little bit later. Again, tweet us your questions and comments for next week's show at GBNMobile. Enjoy all the games this week. For Bruce Bornarth and Taylor Jensen, we'll see you next time here on Gameday All-Access.
The Gameday Broadcast Network is proud to present high school football. This exclusive broadcast is being powered by Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy. Get back in the game of life. Manhattan Pizza, now serving Ashburn, South Riding, and Leesburg with the best dang pizza in the world. Verizon Wireless, the official wireless provider of the Gameday Broadcast Network. Diamond Sports Training, train with DST Performance today. Bellator Sports Memorabilia, the premier sports memorabilia store in Northern Virginia. EndZoneCamera.com, the most efficient and affordable end zone camera system on the market. The Spine and Joint Health Center, offering patients superior results-oriented care, proudly serving Northern Virginia with the finest spine and joint care. Quarterback University, take your skill to the next level and enhance your future today. By Max Muscle Sports Nutrition. Max Muscle, partners in health. Atlanta Bread Company of Sterling. Come for the food, stay for the culture.